Sorry. Good morning. This is the fifth meeting of the Interim Joint Committee on Veterans, Military Affairs, and Public Protections called to order. Will the committee assistant please call the roll?
Senator Berg. Senator Boswell. Here. Senator Higdon. Senator Nunn. Here. Senator Reed. Senator Richardson. Here. Senator Smith. Senator Tishner. Senator Wilson. Here. Representative Blanton. Representative Bratcher. Here. Representative Dossett. Representative Dotson. Representative Freeland. Representative Fugit. Here. Representative Gooch. Representative Hart.
Here.
Representative Johnson.
Here.
Representative Lewis. Representative Maddox. Representative Massaroni.
Here.
Representative Moore.
Here.
Representative Proctor.
Present.
Representative Roberts.
Here.
Representative Sharp. Present. Representative Stevenson. Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Present.
Representative Thomas.
Present.
Representative Wesley. Here. Co-Chair Deneen.
Here.
Co-Chair McCool.
Here. We did have a few more walk-ins, so
We do have a quorum as well. Okay.
a few more. There being a quorum present, we are empowered to do business. I'd like to ask Representative Proctor for the Pledge of Allegiance, and followed by Representative Walker Thomas for prayer.
Please bow with us. Oh, Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for all the blessings you bestow on us each and every day. We want to have you with us this meeting as we conduct the work of the state, and please be with all of our military and our first responders and everyone as we bring up different issues that might be important in their lives and important to this state. Be with us in this meeting, and as we travel home, if we see that we're doing that today. It's in your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. We do have a full agenda today. So the key words today is to be brief, with your questions and your presentations, so please. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from September 24th? Second. We have a motion and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed nay. Minutes are approved. First on the agenda, please come forward to the table. Kentucky Drug Task Force. And will they come forth? Please have your seat, introduce yourself for the record, and begin your presentation.
I'm Ron Eckert.
Turn your microphone on. Very green light.
Okay, how about now? I'm Ron Eckert from the Greater Hardin County Narcotics Task Force in Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Tommy Loving from the Bowling Green Warren County Drug Task Force in Bowling Green.
Mark Burden, I'm the director of the Bluegrass Narcotics Task Force that's in Bourbon and Harrison County.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank
and
you.
Like I said, we're being brief, so please go forward with your presentation.
We'll give you a short, brief update on drug task forces, the funding we received, and just kind of what we do. If I can get the PowerPoint here. Our task force started in '95, made up of Grayson, Hardin, and Nelson counties. In 2005, we now have 7 counties that we work, and then we have 3 agreements with surrounding counties if they need us to come help with something or a case goes there. And that's Breckenridge, Bullitt, Grayson, Hardin, Hart, LaRue, and Nelson counties. And our agreements are with Green, Meade, and Washington counties. 95, we started with 7 police agents from Bowling Green, E-Town, Hardin County, Kentucky State Police, Litchfield, Nelson County, and Radcliffe. 2005, we have 13 sworn officers there. from Breckenridge, Bullitt, Elizabethtown, Hart County, Litchfield, Nelson, Radcliffe, and Shepherdsville. This is just a list of the multi-jurisdictional drug task forces that are in existence now that receive burn JAG funding. That's Barron County, Bluegrass Narcotics, Bowling Green, or Warren Bowling Green, Greater Hardin County, Kentucky State Police, Lexington Metro, Northern Kentucky Strike Force, Pennyroyal Narcotics, and South Central Drug Task Force. Just to talk about JAG funding, 23-24 budget year, task forces, or the burn JAG, had $2.1 million. This current year's funding that just started October 1st, it's been cut down to $1.4 million. There's a couple task forces no longer in existence, which was Lake Cumberland and Fade. They're not any burn JAG anymore, and the dollar amounts are there to the right. Just to talk about our funding, when we started in 1995, we got $156,000. In 2000, it went up to $238,000, and as you can see, in 24, it's $196. And one thing I point out on that, if you look from how much money we got in 2000, 25 years later, we're getting less. But if you look at the cost of everything, it's, you know, skyrocketed, you know, from vehicles to fuel and different things. This is just kind of an operating expense that we had. If you look at the green is in 2022, we spent $220,000 on 5 vehicles. The next over to the right in 2024, there was 3 vehicles outfitted, was $165,000. So when you do the math, you know, even just buying vehicles is through the roof anymore. And then scrolling across technology costs. In 24, we spent $43,000 on technology. Confidential funds, you show it's down. We show it's down a little bit in 24. That's not including, we have 3 counties that are HIDA counties, which we get confidential funds for those 3 counties through HIDA. That's not included here. This is what's coming out of our checking account. To confidential funds is to buy drugs with, to pay informants, those things. One big thing that jumps out is the next one over is fuel costs. 2024, we spent $64,000 on fuel, and this year it may be a little less because the price per gallon is a little less, but it's still, compared from 2020 when it was $13,000 to spending $60,000 now, it's, you know, it just shows how inflation has affected us. Our office rent continues to go up a little bit every year. Overtime, you'll see overtime was down a little bit, but the overtime is due from, that's what's paid out of our checking account. Those 3 counties that are HIDA counties, they pay for overtime for nine officers. So that's not included into that. This is just like for the counties that are not HIDA counties, those officers are working for the overtime they work. And the training expenses, vehicle maintenance, it's all just a continued expense. Just to give the numbers on what we're doing, in 2024, for example, we had 1,128 cases. People arrested at 675. 2022 was the highest on arrest, and a lot of that was people that got charged later after the COVID shutdown, because cases was drug out in court for a long time, and it's caught back up. 2022 is when those numbers really went up on the criminal arrest part of it. Just to talk on drug seized and what we're seeing, the orange look, the dark red or colored block, as you'll see, fentanyl. You know, that's what really has spiked, and that's what's killing people. Almost 6,000 grams of fentanyl, and you know, you go back to 2022, it was 1,600 grams. So it has skyrocketed. Cocaine is always about the same. 2024, it went down a little bit, which is good. Meth is another big drug we've seen in 2024, and this year it has decreased some. Meth is cheap to buy, but the price is going up, but the availability has gone down. I think since the borders have shut down, the amount of meth that we're seeing that the cartels are shipping in has decreased in our area. The scary part of that is we may start seeing meth labs again, and if we do that, that's when our cost on everything and getting people trained, because as meth labs have gone away, right now in my office, I'm meth lab certified, and another guy who's retired and came back is meth lab certified. And other than that, the new guys, when meth labs went away, people quit getting trained on, cleaning up clan labs, which takes up a lot of time and a lot of resources. Marijuana is always, there's lots of it, and it's continued coming in, a lot of it from out west, from the states that where, it's legal for recreational, and then out of Michigan too. This picture here, I just wanted to show this on fentanyl. This is a case that we worked, and we ended up working with the DEA. It started on a guy that was bringing actually fentanyl pills into the Blue Oval plant when they were building it there in Glendale. And that led us into one of our officers working undercover, introduced to his supplier, buying fentanyl and meth from him. This is at a search warrant where it ended up. The top left picture is a pill press, where they'd press out the pills. Directly underneath it is a metal tin that's full of pressed pills. On the right is a big thing of powder, and on the bottom is pills that was pressed up, and a kilo of crystal meth that was taken out of his stop. He was stopped, and that was seized from his vehicle. But that just shows you, fentanyl pill presses, that we are seeing, or the fentanyl that's being produced is not produced in a pharmaceutical lab. That's in a back room at a guy's house, and he's mixing that powder up, putting it in a pill press, and that's why it's killing people. They don't know what they're getting, the percentage of fentanyl that's in there. So I just wanted to throw those pictures in there and show you that. That's what I have to highlight, and I'll let Tommy go from here.
I'll borrow your mouse here, Ron. The Bowling Green Warren County Drug Task Force started in 1997, and you can see the participating agencies we have: Bowling Green Police, ATF, Warren County Sheriff, WKU Police, and Kentucky State Police are all partners. We have part-time partners with Homeland Security and the FBI, and work cases with all those agencies jointly. We found years ago, and the Drug Task Force concept is you bring all these agencies together, we become a team. We're not as worried about which agency gets credit. We're all fighting the same goal. The information is free-flowing between agencies, and so we become much more effective than everybody trying to do it themselves. Back in my state police career, we did our thing, Bowling Green did theirs, but now we're all together and a team. I just want to give you some brief numbers here, and I'll try and move quickly, but similar to Ron, you can see our numbers this year in cocaine. We actually took off a drug trafficking organization that was bringing cocaine, meth, and marijuana into the greater Bowling Green area by tractor trailer, and that's 814 grams of 8,014 grams. On this one truckload, we actually intercepted coming in, had 44 pounds of cocaine, 42 pounds of marijuana. They missed their shipment of meth coming from the West Coast. They had some distribution issues with it. Normally, the cooperating witness told us they brought about 60 to 80 pounds of meth in every 2 weeks. So that shut down a pretty strong organization. You can see the fentanyl, and that's in dose units. The vast majority of the fentanyl we get is in pill form. It's already pilled up. You can see there in 22 we intercepted a parcel coming into Bowling Green with a little over 10,000 fentanyl tablets alone in it. And as Ron already, well, I don't have to tell y'all, you know very well fentanyl kills. It's better, but it's still killing. And These photos are from a couple of different cases. They're the pills I mentioned, the 10,000 that were coming in, being shipped in by postal. And marijuana is very much alive and well. These numbers are in pounds that were seized. And you can see our methamphetamine poundage there was for 24, 67 pounds. And in 23, we had 97 pounds, which I'll jump to a photo. The photo on the left, the State Police Interdiction Team took this load off for us. We had tracked it. Another drug trafficking organization, 5 guys from Bowling Green, went to Atlanta, picked up this load, which they've been doing for about a year and a half. We were able to get a search warrant and attach a tracker to their vehicle. So after they picked up the load, right after they got back into Warren County, KSP was waiting for them. And what you see there is about 80 pounds of crystal meth coming back. And I don't know, is Mark on there? But the one thing on our expenses are very similar. We're one county, so they're certainly a little smaller than Ron, but we started out in 1997 receiving $181,000 from Burn Jag. This year we get $141,000, which I want to compliment our folks at the Justice Cabinet, as they're here also. They do see that the vast majority of this money comes to drug task forces, but the federal level's where the problem is. We go to D.C. every year as the Kentucky Narcotic Officers Association, which Ron's president, I'm executive director, and Mark here is on the executive board. And we tell our delegation there and of the need to increase the Burn Jag funding. But what we've been told by the seasoned staffers up there, that while they try, and sometimes they might throw in a few million here or there, but that's spread across the country, that if we weren't coming, Burn Jag would go away. But we haven't been successful in the last 15 years in getting any significant increase in the funding. In about 2009, it took a really sharp dive during that recession. Britt Guthrie was up here in the Senate, and Jody Richards was Speaker of the House at that time, and between them, they worked together to get some state funding to help supplement the drug task forces. And that's kind of what we're asking for today, is your consideration. It may be in the next budget $1 million each year, $2 million overall, where each task force, in round numbers, with certainly some oversight from either the Office of Drug Control Policy or Justice Cabinet, could help supplement the drug task forces. I'm lucky in Bowling Green. The city and county are very supportive, but right now we need 10 new radios that will allow us to go outside of Warren County. And as you can see, we have multiple investigations frequently where we'll need to be in communication and track vehicles. Those radios alone are going to be about $65,000. Our maintenance budget's tight. Every task force is a little different. To tell you we need technology, radios, gas money, or overtime, it varies. But what we do need is some help from state government to supplement the loss by, if nothing else, by inflation, to support the drug task forces. Turn it over to Mark in a minute. We all do similar work. We're all out here with a great bunch of detectives that beat the ground every day and are after these drug dealers to stop the flow of drugs and get them in prison where they won't be selling drugs. But I'll conclude.
Can we click for you?
Yeah, it's fun. The Bluegrass Narcotics Task Force, we are the baby of the task force, so to say. We started in 2018 and loosely 2017. A lot of reasons we started was because of the amount of overdoses in small county and in Harrison County. They had 23 overdoses that year, and 2017 they thought, okay, what are we going to do different? Because each individual department was trying to do something different. So we were officially formed in 2018 with Harrison and Bourbon County. A lot of things happened when we went to this approach. We did a strategic approach, same way they did when they probably first started out and continue to do. We did not only the drug enforcement side, we also got into proactive community engagement, ASAP, went to Rotary and things like that just to get the message out. So our main thing was to disrupt that narcotic supply. You could change to the next one there. So again, we had 23 overdose deaths, 500 drug-related calls in Harrison County every day or every year. So it was ranked among the highest in Kentucky for overdoses and the third highest rate of overdoses related to ER visits. If you look at our numbers, and I've got 24 and 23, the green is fentanyl. And what you see with that is we definitely had an increase in fentanyl distribution in our area. A lot of it is in the pill form. Cocaine, 25 numbers are not up there, but we're going to see an increase in that as well. And as you can tell, it's starting to increase. And then meth, we've seen an increase in meth in our area. One thing is a lot of things that happen out west works its way east, and normally what we get is the tail end of that. So that's why we see a lot of it there like that. Since these are recent numbers, this last year I did the presentation from the commissions. We've had an 80% reduction in number of drug enforcement complaints. Drug-related calls for service has decreased by 94 in 2024, down from 500. The number of overdose deaths has dropped to 1 last year in Harrison County. So that's a 95% reduction. If you talk to anyone in that county, city officials or county officials, they will tell you it was the aggressiveness of going after drug traffickers. We're not here to arrest, and we will if somebody's on possession, but that's not or at least not our mission. Our mission is to take drug traffickers off the street. And usually when my guys come out in the morning, let's look at fentanyl, look at meth, crack, cocaine, and slowly work our way down. But we want to get to the drugs that are killing people. So this is in Bourbon County. They've had a 50% reduction, and then the overdose deaths reduced to 7 from 18. So about a 60% decline. Again, in Bourbon County, they will tell you the same thing. This enforcement action where we all work together, and here's our partners. You can see them all on there, but we work with everyone, whether 3 letters from the federal agencies or other state agencies, we all work together. That is probably one of the biggest things that's happened in that area. The partnerships that we can pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, we need help. We need money. State police is big on helping us with some buys. Early on when we started out, we had a very small budget. Our drug purchasing budget has tripled since 2018. So we still have the issue of trying to find funds to keep the task force running. We also are supported by JAG. We get $78,000. We have to have office personnel to help maintain that and also help the task force keep running. So that funding is, majority of that's absorbed through that. And lastly, Tommy hit on the radios. Our radio system is usually a cell phone. We all interconnect with one another with cell phones to do drug buys. So if cell service goes down, which it has before, unfortunately for us, it's worked out okay, but trying to use cell phones in today's time is not the way or best approach for that. This is the other thing we do. We get in schools, and we try to stay active. And I think I have one more on there that's good with that. These are the drug raids in Bourbon County. And the reason I put them up there is because this house is not far from an elementary school, and that's the impact the task forces do. You get a complaint near school, it becomes a priority. So we've had to do that a couple times in that area, but it's worked out. We shut that house down. And then lastly, the picture on the left with the pickup truck, I think sometimes people think, well, you know, big drug dealers don't make it to small communities. And that's not necessarily true. In a lot of cases, we're close to Lexington. This guy in the white truck was an Hispanic male. He is part of the Sinaloa cartel. They had set up a stash house in Bourbon County. And so anyway, making a long story short, we ended up doing a purchase from him at the local Walmart. He wanted to go inside and do that, which is not necessarily what we like to do, but we did it. And shortly thereafter, we stopped the vehicle and arrested him. So that's what we do as a task force.
Well, thank you. We do have some questions. Start off with the Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the briefing. Just to I throw this out as a request that wouldn't necessarily be answered now, but my question is, other than the financial aspects that you brought to our attention, are there any statutory, for lack of a better term, handcuffs that are on you guys that you would like to see us address in the next session? Is there something we can do procedurally to help you guys out with your jobs? Is there something we need to do statutorily? And I'm not looking for an answer now, but if you guys would think about that, if you haven't already done so, and get back with us, with the chairman or myself, anybody, we want to help you guys. And we just need to know what we need to do. So I'll just throw that out to you. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, just that request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here today and the work you're doing to take clearly dangerous drugs off our streets and bringing the overdose deaths down. Like, that's a measurable impact that changes lives and families and in communities. So thank you so much for that. My question is, how can we help with you all with coordination? I mean, there's 120 counties in Kentucky. How can we help you here in the legislature to make sure as these traffickers are crossing county lines, they're crossing state lines? You talk about most of these things are coming from west of us and other parts of the U.S. and probably outside of the U.S. How can we help you all either communicate across the state of Kentucky or even open up more channels to help with those outside of Kentucky, whether it's at the federal level or otherwise, to even better do that job and make sure we bring those overdose deaths down even more?
Well, I'll throw this out. You know, we have, I think I can speak for all of us, great cooperation between the feds and state police within Kentucky. We have a National Narcotic Officers Association that we're all involved in, and that's given us great communication across the country. We at least know somebody to pick up a phone in California and call, and they'll know somebody for us. So the communication part is pretty good. It's just these long-term investigations, the one I mentioned about intercepting the cocaine, the marijuana coming in from California on a truck. We did a surveillance. Part of the team went to California following the truck, and part of us to Oklahoma City and back. So the biggest thing, and I don't want to harp on it, but I'm afraid it's money, is the thing that hampers us. I'm also, like Ron, a HIDA task force, and they do give us funding for the officer overtime and buy money, and they will pay some travel expenses. But as far as the state as a whole, you know, we have 10 task forces. Every county doesn't have the same luxury we do, and if you wanted to extend that program, I hate to hit it again, but it's money, and that's what everybody needs.
One thing, if I can interject, each task force is made up, different, from participating agencies, from where their fundings come from. Our task force, when it was formed in '95 with the board of directors, we got started with our burn jag money. This was before I got there, and then we get $0 from our local government. They give us a person, and we provide everything that person needs. They give us a person, they pay for their base salary. The vehicle, that's why, our vehicles, our gas, and our expenses are much. Asset forfeiture, when, things get forfeited to us, that's what, the rest of our money comes from. And our board, those agencies, because some task forces, their agencies may get 10% of the seizures, if money is awarded to you. But our task force said, put it all back in your task force. Y'all fund yourself. So, luckily for us, if we have good years, we may get $200,000 in seizures to operate on. Now, if we have a bad year, or where stuff drags out through court for a long time, it may be a down year and there's not much money. But each ones are different. Some task forces, their local government gives some money and a person, but each one is made up differently. So it's kind of a unique, concept of how everything goes.
Well, thanks, and it sounds like your all's coordination is really good, and you gave more explanation for how that money will be used and why that money is so important to do your job even better. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to remind everybody, we have 10 other legislators who want to ask questions, so be prepared. If you got comments, please make them brief, but all of them are important and they need to be addressed. So thank you for your questions. Next we have is Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think in our county, my question really is, what happens to the cash that's seized when you make these arrests? And is it not possible that somewhere along the line we can start to direct some of these funds to take care of some of your expenses?
I'll speak briefly. The cash that is seized, would be taken as evidence, and then as that case is adjudicated and goes through court, which if it's a 6-month process, then that cash, depending upon the judge and the case, what is awarded. If it's awarded back to the task force, then like our task force, we would get the money as operating funds. I don't know if they split it up among the participating agencies, but that has people there. So some of it may be like go back to Warren County or to Bowling Green. He can talk on that, but some of those cases may drag out for 2 years, 3 years. A lot of it depends upon your court system. We have 4 different Commonwealth attorneys for the area we cover, and each one is kind of unique in the court dockets, how fast those cases get resolved also. But
yeah, I guess the same thing. We get the bulk of the asset forfeiture. 15% by statute goes to the Commonwealth attorney. No argument with that. They earn it.
Yeah.
And 85% back to law enforcement. And while that is a huge help, but it's an unsteady revenue flow. As Ron says, we might get $40,000 one year, we might get $200,000. So you've got to bank that money, and we try to look at it as a savings account to make it last at least 2 or 3 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for all the work that you guys are doing to keep our community safe. My question is largely on the source of drugs that you guys are aware of, because you're mentioning the issue of out-of-country drugs and the issue of meth labs possibly returning. So sort of a 2-part question. The first is, what is the proportion in terms of sourcing, if you guys know, of how much of it's coming from America versus how much is coming from overseas?
Best guess, with fentanyl and meth and cocaine, I think the vast majority of that's coming across was coming across the southwest border. It's still managing to come in to some degree, but I think Ron alluded to that earlier. We're seeing the price of and availability of meth particularly, the price go up, the availability coming down, so the border being secured now has had an impact. Most of the marijuana we see is being shipped in from the legal states. It's illegally diverted. That's illegal in all those states to do that and ship it to Kentucky or other states. But for the most part, the marijuana is domestic, and the other drugs, at least at this point, are coming from Mexico at the end of the day.
Right, and I certainly agree that this administration's work to secure the borders been great for this issue. But so that said, my second part of my question is, I know you alluded to this, but I just wanted to hear, like, how equipped are you guys to address domestic drug manufacturing, assuming that makes a resurgence, such as the rise of meth labs? And what can we do as a body to make sure that you guys are as well equipped as possible to address that should the need arise?
The short answer, not very. We were at one time. I know, Ron, similar in Warren County, we were running 85 meth lab incidents a year at one time. So we were geared up, we were ready. All of that equipment expired. Everything has an expiration date. We haven't had a active meth lab in Warren County in, 5 years. So it went by the wayside. We even sold off part of the equipment, and we hope they don't return. But if meth, I've told people the only bright side to the Mexican cartels sending meth into this country, they did kill meth labs. But what they've sent in is so much more pure that it causes overdose deaths. So it's a bad trade either way.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a couple of questions. The first, I would like to talk to Director Loving. I see that you're on the board for the RISC project in the Rocket region. How's your interaction with them go? Is it positive? Are they an asset or?
Yes, sir. The RISC project is a national project. It's divided into 6 agencies, and the one that serves us in Kentucky is the Regional Organized Crime Information Center, ROCIC. It covers the 14 southeast states, and they provide a lot of equipment available to you that you can get on loan. They do a lot of intelligence and background work for you. They'll help you with presentations for court, but there are a lot of things they do. But we have a state coordinator here assigned to Kentucky from ROCIC, kind of like us, another old retired KSP guy. And he's very available to the member agencies. And off the top of my head, I think we have about 300 police departments, federal agencies, sheriff's offices that are members of ROCIC in Kentucky. But don't hold me totally to that number, but that's in the ballpark.
Well, it's been 20 years since I've had to deal with them, and they were very positive.
Yeah,
so
it's a good, well-run organization.
Yeah, and then the next question I got is for Director Eckhart. All your agencies that you saw on there, I did not see the military agency on there. I was wondering if they are not are they not playing well with you, or are they not part of your task force, or?
There used to be. Fort Knox had, someone assigned, that worked with us in CID, because actually we had an office at Fort Knox initially when the task force first formed, and then we was able to leave post, and I think initially we were part of Vine Grove, and then it came to E-Town. But as some of the leadership changed, we still work with CID on cases they have. They'll call, or we'll call them on people. But as far as them having a person assigned to us, they do not anymore.
Do they have an active DST team going now, or?
I believe they still do. I mean, we have a couple of contacts we call, and I believe they're part of that.
Okay, I'm a retired CID agent, so, and I understand what you guys are doing. I've ran several task forces and was part of Joint Task Force 6, so I really have an affinity for what you guys are doing and a respect for it, and if there's anything we can do to help, just ask.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for your work that you do, and those officers that go out into the field and do this work, put their life at risk every day they go out. It's dangerous work, and we commend you all for your dedication to that. And Representative Masseroni and myself hear the good work constantly that's going on in Nelson County, so we thank you for that. Representative Roberts, in his answer, your answer to his question alludes to pretty much what I was going to say. I remember seeing an article many years ago about a New York mayor that declared war on heroin, And a year later, he said, you know, we were successful, and the way we know we're successful, because the price of heroin had more than doubled. So you said that we're seeing the price of drugs on the street going up, so we know the supply is being cut. So can you give us an idea of how much we see the supply decreasing, or any information on that?
I could say on meth, you know, used to, if you got an ounce of meth, that was a lot of meth. You know, years ago when I was a trooper young, if you got somebody with an ounce of meth, that was a whole lot of meth. Now, or it's gone up a little bit, but meth had got cheaper than marijuana. You could buy meth for $250 an ounce, and an ounce of high grade marijuana was $400, and that, you know, that just fueled the meth addiction. Now, if we would do a search warrant, a lot of times we at a house of a smaller meth dealer, they may have a pound of meth in their house. Well, now where you was finding a pound of meth in the house, you're going to find an ounce or 2 ounces at it. So I'd say the amount that we're seeing at your medium dealers has went from 1 to 2 pounds to 2 to 3 ounces at their house. And it's just because the availability is not there. Most of our people that are dealing a lot of meth are going to Louisville and picking it. They may go to Louisville twice a week and pick up 2 ounces or a quarter pound of it at a time. We did have a case recently where there was, I think it was 14 pounds that the guy, they went to Atlanta and picked it up and drove it back to E-Town. But we don't find too many huge 14-pound of meth in a house anymore. It's more like what would have been that is a pound. But it's really probably, I would say at least 50% decrease in the amount. Great. And the price is going back up on it, you know.
Great. Thank you all for your work. Thank you for being here.
I'm just going to mention, I agree totally, but you mentioned the guys out doing the work. I'll have people come up to me in Bowling Green and say, hey, you're doing a great job, Tommy. I said, no, I've got a great bunch of detectives that are doing a great job. They just make me look good, and that's tough. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Representative Fugit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say I appreciate all these fellows. Worked with Mark, some at Desi East when I was on the High to Drug Task Force, and Tommy's a legend in Kentucky, ain't no doubt. And Mr. Eckert, thank you for your work. This unseen work, but it's a great benefit to our communities. These guys, you know, they don't get to run around in a gray cruiser with blue lights on top anymore, but what they do is probably more important than anything that's being done. I think we've all said, well, just let us know what we can do to help you, and you have. You've asked for $2 million over the next 2 years. And I really think if we see the importance of what they do, and it's very important. Again, I worked the last 9 years that I worked at state police was on the drug task force, and the benefit to the community, the reduction in overdose deaths, the reduction in drugs being brought in, and if you think drug dealers don't know where the law enforcement and the drug task forces are, you're fooling yourself. If they know there's a good drug task force in an area, they'll go to a different place. And so we need to fund them. We need to really think seriously about getting them the money that they need. They've asked. I think we need to answer the call. So I do have one question. If you were awarded $1 million per year in the next 2 years, would that $1 million be divided up? Where would it go to? Does it go to the Narcotics Association and then divided out to the task force, or how would that go, Tommy?
I think our vision is probably let it go to the Office of Drug Control Policy or Justice Cabinet, and they manage the Burn Jag grant at this point. They got some folks in the back of the room that are our friends, and they're used to managing that money, and they hold us accountable for it.
Right.
And that's equally as important. And as for the legend, I think that just means I'm the old guy in the room. But thank
Well,
you.
it may mean that, but you're still good at what you've done, what you do, and I appreciate all the work that all the officers do. And you're right, you can get a lot of accomplishment doesn't matter who gets the credit. Right? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. And Tommy, I know you very well and have seen y'all's work. You guys do an incredible job, and I just appreciate it very, very much. And I'm all in trying to help you guys any way we can for what you do. Our community is growing so fast. I think the judge said we have 350 to 400 people per month moving into Bowling Green. So I know it's only going to get worse, not better. And for you guys, and any way we can help you, we want to do that. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Senator. He's my senator. So, and of those 350, most of them are really good, hardworking people, but not everyone.
Thank you. We have Senator Deneen. Is he online?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
First of all, this is the second year that we've brought the Drug Task Force folks before our committee, and I want to thank these gentlemen for being with us today. In the material that was sent out to everyone, I encourage everybody to look over that funding and how Kentucky is using the Burn JAG grant money. That is handled by Secretary Keith Jackson and the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet, and how they distribute those funds. But I want you to know, back in 2005, the Burn JAG money was combined with, I believe, local block grants funding. And so the Burn JAG grant money can be used and is being used in the Commonwealth for a lot of other things rather than just Drug Task Force funding. For example, Goodwill Industries, Aspire program, mental health teams in Georgetown. And we've even seen a social worker hired in Hopkinsville in their police department. And in some cases, I don't know, particularly here in Kentucky, but the Burn JAG grant is able to be used for veteran drug courts and specialty courts as well. So when we see a decrease in the funding from the federal government in this regard, and we see the exact increase in the number of grams of fentanyl, we really need to do our part as a state. I'm so thankful that you all have made this request of $2 million, and I want you to know I'm fully behind that, supporting you in that endeavor. I can't stress to our committee members enough the increase in fentanyl that is a scourge on our Commonwealth right now, and these guys in our Drug Task Force units are the tip of the spear. And I just want to say, when you go from 1,600 grams in 1 year, and 2 years later, you're at 6,000 grams of fentanyl. And that is in just one task force area. 10,000 tablets were mentioned by another gentleman there in Bowling Green. These are killing our children and so many of our community members. If there's, I can't think of a better place to focus our attention and some of our funding to help these task force get the technology they need, because for every time we stop this on the front end by getting it ahead of it and stopping it as it comes into our communities before it is distributed, then it is saving us millions of dollars in drug treatment facilities, court appearances, and so much more. So I think this ask of $2 million is very minimal. And I want to, again, thank you all for the work that you do. And thank you for making this request of us. And I'm encouraging my colleagues to do what we can to help this group. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Next we have is Representative Dawson. Okay. Next we have Senator Richardson.
I'm going to talk very fast because we'll be brief. I'm actually going to be filing a fentanyl bill that addresses sort of this gap that we have in the aggravated trafficking. We've got 28 grams, but it really doesn't take into account in the pill form. You could have 100 pills that don't hit 28 grams. 100 pills is 14,000 lethal doses. It should absolutely be aggravated trafficking. So I'm going to be working on a bill, working with our Commonwealth attorneys right now to come up with something that we can be a little bit more aggressive, but also target the pill form. That 28 grams doesn't really take into account when that original statute was written. So I'll be working on that and following that in January.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I was remiss in not mentioning in one of the earlier questions, the crime bill last year, I think, is going to have a really long-term positive impact from our perspective, too. So we do appreciate that.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. Certainly, we appreciate what you're doing, admire what you're doing, and we definitely need that in saving your individual lives, your families, and our communities. So thank you so much for being here today and looking forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for hearing us.
Okay, next I'd like to ask the Honorable Judge Kimberly Shoemate and Audrey Collins to come forth for their presentation. Ladies, would you please introduce yourself for the record and then proceed?
Mr. Chairman, Judge Shoemate from Hardin County. Turn on your microphone. That would help. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Judge Shoemate from Hardin County.
Thank you.
And good morning. I'm Audrey Collins. I'm the Executive Officer of the Department of Specialty Courts with the Administrative Office of the Courts.
Thank you. Thank you. Please proceed.
We have a pleasure to present to you today on our veteran treatment courts in Kentucky. We are thankful that our legislature is a partner in the work that we do by providing budgets to the judicial branch and the work that we do through veterans treatment courts. It is a perfect way, a segue from what you've just seen in the opportunity with the task force to talk about how to decrease supply. I guess the easiest way in that formula would be for us to tell you we're trying to also decrease demand. And that's what we do with our treatment courts throughout the state of Kentucky and specifically through the veterans treatment courts. We deal with these cases all across Kentucky. I've been a district judge for almost 29 years. I've been working with drug courts since 1998, and I can tell you that these courts save lives and save money and make a difference in our hometown communities. And so I encourage you to see where those courts are, whether they're drug courts or mental health courts or veterans treatment courts, and we want to share with you a little bit about who we are. In our work with veterans treatment courts, we are dealing with veterans who may have come home from combat, but also veterans who have not been in combat before, but perhaps the most successful part of their life was the time that they spent in the military, and we're able to work with that knowledge base and get them back to a place of stability. So Veterans Treatment Court is not a get-out-of-jail-free card by any stretch of the imagination. It is a way to connect veterans to counseling and treatment and housing and employment and give them back the stability that they need. Our first veterans treatment courts began in 2012, first with Jefferson County and then a couple of months later in our county and Hardin County, and we've been growing throughout the state along the way. The general concept of specialty courts, which we call treatment courts in my area, but specialty courts is the concept, is that there in every state in the union has a specialty court program. In every county in Kentucky, we do have a drug court program. We have 8 counties, as you can see, that have veterans treatment courts, and then I believe it's 14 now that are doing mental health courts. But the work that we do is an important part of changing lives. It's that intersection between the justice system and addiction and addressing those issues. So I want to make sure that you all know right ahead from the very, very beginning, we do not put drug trafficking cases into treatment courts. That's not what we're about. We work alongside our drug task force because we want to know that we are saving lives, and we believe that the drug traffickers that those task force are working hard to put away are ones that are losing lives. And so we want to make sure that you do know that we are not working opposing to each other, but rather alongside one another as partners in the work to try and keep safe communities at home. Generally speaking, in our veteran treatment court locations, as you can see on your map, we're kind of interspersed across the state. If you look at the numbers of current participants this summer, you will find that Hardin and Christian counties carry between 25 and 30 on any given day of the month of veterans that are in our program. You might notice that that sounds real familiar if you're anywhere near Fort Knox or Fort Campbell to understand where we might find that part of our population. Fayette and Floyd usually carry around 10 to 15 participants at any given time, and our others, Boone, Kenton, Campbell, and Jefferson, will usually carry anywhere from 2 to 5 to 10, depending upon the given day of the week. We do have judges that serve in those locations. If you recognize one of those judges' names and the next time you see them out and about, if you have a chance, say thank you. All of our treatment court judges, especially our veterans court judges, are dedicated to that work that we do because we care about people and we volunteer for these positions. We do not get a bump in pay to do them. We don't get anything else but lots of extra emails and phone calls and time out of our court session to make sure that we do this work. And so we do this as a volunteer because it matters to us and it matters to our communities. So I just want you to see those names so when you see them back at home, you know who they are. Just a real quick primer on why treatment courts. When I first started our treatment court, there wasn't an overbroad umbrella at our Kentucky Administrative Office of the Courts. Every individual county had to fight for money at a national level. We had to write national grants from a local level. And so we pushed for that money locally as a grassroots effort. It came to us from our mental health community. As a matter of fact, our Comp Care Center in Hardin County is called CommuniCare. And back in the 90s, Cindy Barker was the director there, and she came to us with the concept at the courthouse, and we hadn't even heard of the concept nationally, much less in our local area. And she said, Judge, you know, we've always had mental health care opportunities for addiction resources in our community. It's not that we don't have them, it's that we can't find clients who are motivated enough to get in the door and stay there. But what we've seen in this practice that started in Florida is that when you can have an intersection with courts and mental health treatment and that addiction work, all of a sudden people have a reason to stay. It's that carrot and stick, right? The carrot that says, I can give you a better life, I can give you stability. If you do really well and stay, I may even be able to get your charges expunged in some cases so that you really do have a chance to have a fresh start. And the stick, on the other hand, that says that if you don't, there's going to be the potential for that jail service. You'll actually serve all of those years of jail service. And so with that carrot and stick approach, she said, you've changed the way that we deal with mental health treatment when we have that intersection with the treatment court. She said, we've always said in mental health that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, meaning you can bring someone for therapy and treatment, but that doesn't necessarily make them take it to heart. But treatment courts can make them very thirsty. And so that's kind of what our mantra has been making those folks really thirsty for treatment that they might otherwise not have been motivated for. Drug courts, our goal is to deal with individuals who are having issues with both illegal drugs, like you've seen with task force work, prescriptions not their own, for example, those opiate issues that may not be an illegal drug, but it causes the same harm to an individual. We want them to come out to be clean and sober, have a lifestyle that's honest through that intensive court supervision. And so those are individuals who have criminal charges, oftentimes that are related to drugs or specifically are drug charges, but not trafficking. Mental health court is an individual who has some kind of a mental health diagnosis that's keeping them from being able to function well. And our goal for them is that same clean, honest, stable lifestyle. But we want their drug screens to show prescription drugs on there. So in drug court, we want nothing on your screen. On mental health court, we want to see drugs on your drug screen, the ones that are making you healthy, those things that you do for a lifetime, those antipsychotic medications that are giving you the stability you need, so you're not out there drug seeking to try and manage your mental health. Veterans Treatment Court is almost a combination of those things. We have individuals who come to us for issues that are drug issues. Perhaps they are masking underlying issues of PTSD or trying to deal with their TBI from trauma or from combat or from childhood trauma. And intersecting that also with individuals who have drug issues or mental health issues together. And so in those areas in the state where we've been able to show that there is enough veteran population, when we first started our Veterans Court in 2012, we began not with a first case off of a docket, but with transferring some folks from drug court because they were veterans who were doing drug court work already. But they have gained so much in this Veterans Court population because they add not only the things we've talked about before, the clean and sober, stable lifestyles, the drug screens, the intensive court supervision, but we're able to add on the piece of veteran peer mentoring that has really made the difference. For the folks in our Veterans Court, the most successful time they probably had in their professional and adult life was when they were in the military. They had structure and accountability, they had a common mission and a connectedness together, and they were able to really, in many cases, excel in that work. But when they came home and they didn't have that structure or that accountability or a way to deal with life anymore, people didn't necessarily understand their experiences, especially some of our combat veterans that have come over from back from Afghanistan. Those are folks that have really had a hard time coming back to polite society and dealing with their circumstances. And so we're able to give them peer mentoring that says, we know how to do life right in this community. We've been in the military. We understand what you've been through, but you can still do life right, clean, sober, stable, and healthy. And those are the things we work for to do to Veterans Treatment Court. We serve both veterans and some active duty members. To be quite honest, it's hard to have an active duty member do Veterans Court because of their expectations for their everyday job, their assignments, their mission. But we do leave open that potential and opportunity for them to do so. We have we don't just take the easy cases, okay? We do high-risk, high-need individuals. These are the folks who most need these circumstances, the ones that would be most likely to be back out there involved in drugs, making a mess in their community and in their home and in their jobs. We turn those lives back around and see where they are in the best of circumstances. We give back for those who have served our country by serving them again and volunteering to do that work for them. I would say that we don't only take honorable discharges, because sometimes when we think about Veterans Treatment Court, we think, oh, we're giving back to those who served honorably, meaning they only had an honorable discharge. But let's be real, that's not how life always works. I've had individuals in my Veterans Treatment Court who have been subjected to military sexual trauma, and they weren't in a position to feel as though they could report that to their superiors and their chain of command. And they dealt with that by using drug use at the time, and they were booted out with an other than honorable discharge because of their drug use, because of the trauma, because of their service. So we don't just say, if you had an honorable discharge, you're welcome in our treatment court. We say, you served, you have issues that need to be addressed because it affects not only you, but your family and our community. And that's why we're going to take you in these circumstances. So we don't only look for the easy cases. We don't only look for someone who's had a use once in a while. We really want people to make considerable life changes. It is hard work. When I bring people into treatment court, I tell them the work you do with us is going to be both intensive and intrusive. And the work that we do requires significant judicial oversight. It's coordinated recovery services within our communities, and that peer mentorship from other veterans really makes a big difference. I like to say that we build on the military culture, and while they're once fit in and excelled, we try to bring them back to that state of mind so that they can be successful again. In drug court, we call things phase-ups. In vet courts, we call them promotion packets. In drug court, we may call them social events. In vet court, we call them MWR. Every single court session with every single veteran, when they stand up with me in judicial oversight, we find out what happened well, what didn't. I shake their hand and I say, thank you for your service, because they need to be reminded that they have a history of service and they have value and they have hope and they can make a difference in who they are and therefore what they do in their community.
I just want to add and reiterate one thing about the peer mentorship in our Veterans Treatment Courts. These peer mentors are volunteer veterans inside of our communities that have said, hey, I have an interest in helping this population. And so the really unique thing is that these mentors are not paid individuals with a treatment agency, for example. They are your local veteran population that are ingrained and connected into the communities that are able to bridge relationships with these folks who have struggled, so they can feel that connection to a healthy member of their support system outside.
Exactly. We have retired command sergeant majors that come in and help run our local peer mentor group. And we have former graduates who come back again and volunteer to make sure that they know that they're welcome and that we can do. It's the connection that veterans crave. It's that part that says, I get you and I've got you. And that's who those peer mentors are. They're mentors in our community. Those mentors are generally retired military, but our participants are not always retired in that opportunity. We have a great Veterans Treatment Court team. I want to differentiate real quickly between the difference between the treatment team, the ones who actually give the hands-on treatment and counseling and therapy and all those structured part of mental health work, versus our treatment court team. These are the partners in the courthouse that come in to make this work. And you can see it is a huge group of individuals within your community that are going to make a difference. I had a session this week with an individual who did not believe that treatment court could ever work for them. They still had the belief that they were a defendant in a criminal case and the system was simply out to get them. And they didn't believe that the work that we do in a courthouse could ever change their life. It was only intended to put them in jail. Now, if you really want to make a difference in a community, you're going to have a jail to address criminal conduct and criminal thinking. But if you want to have a safe community where you decrease demand for drugs and alcohol and you increase safety and families and employees, then you've got to reach individuals at an individual personal level. And there was a young man that I have seen many times over the years in court. And yesterday, as court was ending, we sat down with his criminal history, we sat down with his driver's license, and we figured out exactly what he had to do to be on the right path. And he told me yesterday, I want to do life right, but I don't know how, and no one's ever shown me. My parents didn't tell me, my lawyers handled my cases, but I had something much bigger than that, and I can't do this alone. And that's what treatment courts and veteran treatment courts are about. Teaching individuals the skill set to do life right and to get back on the right track. And that's what we do with our treatment court work, because his question was, would you really do this for me? And the answer is yes, that's what we're here for. That's what we're doing, is changing lives. We're not just putting people in jail, we're here to change the way that lives work. And a part of those treatments that you see there is specialty court staff. That is where our administrative office of the courts hires individuals. That's where our budget comes from. That's our greatest need, is staffing. We could handle more people if we had more staffing to be able to manage them. The need is most assuredly out there, waiting in our jails and waiting in our communities. As you can see, we have several individuals there. VA, the Department of Veterans Affairs, they're full of alphabet soup. The VA gives us a VJO to work on CM. So Veterans Justice Outreach are individuals who are case managers that work for VA. So they work with us to no cost to us to make sure that our individuals know what rights and benefits they may have so that they'll be able to take advantage of those. They go into our jail, even if you don't have a VTC in your area, these VJOs will go into your jails and find individuals who have veterans benefits to give them the resources that they need so that then when they come back to your community, they're able to be stable and they're able to find that stability. If you don't start out with that where am I going to sleep tonight? What am I going to eat for dinner tonight? And where am I going to wake up tomorrow? Am I going to be safe while I'm asleep? If you can't do those things, you cannot teach a different lifestyle. And the VA benefits that come to many of our folks are what gives us that very level of Maslow that we can just get started and be able to make change individually on that work. When I talk about budgeting, I want to give you this cost comparison. These are things that spoke to me as a taxpayer, and I believe those of you who manage our budgets, it matters to you as well. Treatment courts in general, these are Kentucky treatment courts. It's an average of basically $44 a day if we're going to simply incarcerate someone. Now, we have good programs in our jails, but people have to volunteer for them, and they have to feel like that they're going to benefit from them before they participate or actually actively participate. We know the difference between pulling out and sitting and actually taking something to heart, and that's what we want to know. If you go to a specialty court program, it is about $18 per day. That's huge. Now, if you think about incarcerating someone, the circuit court cases that come to my docket on Veterans Treatment Court, they might be cases that would have had 10 plus years in prison for the work that they had done because they had possession charges again and again and again, or there was something else that happened that was another higher level felony that put that potential for that significant jail service. So do $44 a day at a 10-year service. or do $18 a day in the 2 to 3 years that it takes to do a good veterans treatment court and give you some back in your community. If you put someone in jail, you've given them reason to rethink their position and their actions when they come out, but have you actually addressed their addiction, or have you just put pause on that button? We actually do a hard reset in the way people think and the way people act, and it's a significant difference in the work we do with your budget. I just want you to see that there are people that come in every day. We don't take everyone who comes in because not everyone is a good fit. If you can manage life at a lower level and it's a manage that you can handle just on probation and parole, you're not coming into the intensive work that we do. If you are too significant in the sense of it's a trafficking charge, you're not coming in the work that we're going to do. And so not everyone who asks gets accepted. And we want to say that it's a combat mindset. It's a system that's out to get you or set you up for failure, is why some people whose lawyers say, I want you to come in, and then they don't actually get to go in because they don't want to. They don't want to do the work. They say, y'all just here to set me up for failure because you're working people hard and because not everybody makes it in treatment court. People don't make it through treatment court because they aren't able to manage the expectations and the high expectations that we have. To be successful, you're going to have to do life a different way, and we'll treat you to do that, but you have to actually do the hard work. So people get terminated from treatment court. If you get terminated from treatment court, you go back and serve your full sentence. Your full sentence. No get out of jail early passes. If you did treatment court, we gave you everything we had. And if you turned it down, then you go back and serve your full sentence. So those who are terminated are ones who just simply weren't ready to make the hard decisions and do life right, because you can't get much more than we give you in treatment court out here or anywhere in the world. But those successful completions, those are significant. Those are people who are back doing life right and successful completions. There are some administrative discharges. I've had participants who ended up with cancer that couldn't carry out the intensive work that we do. They were still clean and sober and stable, but they couldn't stay with us long enough to finish that intensive program, but yet they weren't in a position to need to be back in the jail setting. So we put administratively discharged and put them with probation parole, for example. But the ones that were terminated are ones who simply weren't ready to do life differently. And I can't change someone's mind. I can only give them opportunities to do things the right way. So there you see some of the statewide outcomes there and the words that we're doing there. Our Hardin County outcomes are very similar to those, and we work hard individually with the work that we do in our county. And I know that Representative Bratcher and Senator Deneen come out to our graduations regularly. You see those men and women, and they are persons. They come back to live in our community again, and they make a difference. They own businesses, they employ people, they come back as mentors, and they are changed lives. We do the things you would expect and hope. If you're going to do a program to take somebody out of jail and do things right, you do those things that we would hope. And you've got all those figures that show those outcomes. In our Hardin County outcomes, I know those people. Those are not just numbers to me. Those are faces. Those are people that I know. We have had one out of the 35 graduates that ranked up to 2021. We've had one that has had new felony charges in that period, not just in the 2 or 3 months after or the 12 months after. One. That's a lot. When I started our drug court program, I did a hand count of 5 years' worth of folks who were on my probation. 75% of them failed probation. 75% of my drug cases in Hardin County in district court failed probation. Something had to be done differently. That's not working, right? That's not working. Going to jail and coming back out was not working. Now in the work that we do in our Veterans Treatment Court, look at those recidivism rates. That's not 75% failing. When you look at our Hardin County work, that means that we've got one person that failed. When you do this work, it changes lives. It flips that script more than just 25%. We're down to, all the matters are down to 2%, just because of percentages, but that's just one person that failed. Because when you do this work and you do it right, it changes lives across the board. There are challenges that we have in our treatment court work. In the communities that we're in, there's housing instability, there's transportation gaps. In Hardin County, we do not have any kind of mass transit. If I've got somebody that I say, go here to drug test, go here to do AA or NA self-help groups, go here to do your treatment work, get to Louisville to VA to do your treatment that's at VA, come in once a week to see your case manager, your drug testing is 3 times a week, and come see me once a week, and do that while you're trying to get back your license and have no mass transit. When I say they do life right, they work hard to make it happen. So those things are a part of the struggles that we face and the work that we face. We have ways that we meet that by volunteers in our community, our veteran service organizations, our American Legion, our DAV, all those kind of folks that are out there doing VSO work help us to try and fill some of those gaps. But we need money to make those things happen. One of the more significant challenges that I would say we face right now is our staffing. Trying to get enough staff that will stay to do this work. They love the work. I've had men cry when they left this job to go take a private sector job because I can't feed my family and take care of my family doing it for you. I've got to go do it in private sector. I want to do it with you. I want to be in this court system, but I can make twice as much money in the private sector as I can and work with the same people just doing the hands-on treatment. I lost somebody in mental health court like 2 months ago, twice as much money in the public sector. How do you compete with that? And those are the challenges that we see in getting that work done. The solutions are simply our calling on community partners. We're working with HUD-VASH, we work with VA, we work with the VSO organizations who give drivers, but it's all, as you know, it always ends up coming down to getting people to do the work that are motivated, but being able to pay them to keep them in a place to do that work. So those are the biggest things we have. A couple of weeks ago at my VTC session, I as I always do, I have a question of the day. I always ask my folks a question of the day. When they're in the midst of the hardest times of their lives, they cannot see hope. And so often the question I ask them is, what's the best thing that's happened since I've seen you last? Because I want them to find hope to be able to move forward. But this day I asked them, I said, I'm going to go to Frankfurt and I'm going to have the opportunity to talk to legislators about what we do at VTC. So my question of the day is, what do you want this committee to know? And so this was from their hearts, off the cuff, right then and there. When they say, "What does VTC mean to you?" and what do you want those legislators to know? And these are things that they wanted you to hear. The first is from a 46-year-old Marine combat vet, and you can see what his concerns were. A chance to find myself. I've opened up in therapy. Let me tell you, this person has never been in therapy before, did not trust therapy, did not believe that therapy could ever help him in his circumstances. But he's the one who said that I found accountability in therapy. This particular individual is suffering from very, very significant health issues. He has several surgeries set up that are going on through VA. He would not have had the medical care. He would not have taken the time in the midst of his drug addiction to take care of his body. He did not and would not have known of his medical concerns had he not been required as a part of that entrance into VTC to get a primary care physician and to be able to look at his medical concerns. And now he's engaged with VA medical and health benefits and is getting those surgeries done. And he is literally going to be alive so that we can treat him, and he's going to be there for his kids. And when he says, I would like life-threatening issues I would not seen coming, he wouldn't have been around, I promise you. That's who he is. That's what he wanted you to know that day. A 58-year-old Army vet, RD, says, I've not only gotten my life back, but I've also been working with legal aid because we partner with legal aid to try and get VA benefits. Not just an upgrade. He didn't have his VA benefits. He never understood the process and the path to get his VA benefits, and he is 58 years old and has had opportunities all along for those benefits. But VTC connected him to those things. An Army combat vet, 38-year-old Army combat vet, said that the same thing. He'd never taken advantage of those, but he's finally having a chance to be successful out in the community. This younger Army combat vet is one who doesn't have a lot of words to say. The fact that he wouldn't be someone that would ever sit up here and talk to you all in a group. He just wouldn't do it. He can't do those circumstances anymore after the combat trauma he went through. He just couldn't do that. But he said, I just want to say thank you, and thank you because it's more than words can say. And I wish I could let you hear the emotion in his voice when he said, that's what I want you to tell them. the veteran voices that we have continue and continue. It's a matter of when they were in the military, there was that esprit de corps that kept them motivated, that kept them safe, that kept them moving forward. And when you come back home, you don't always have that opportunity. But these men have now, and women have now found connection in that community again. And the statistics will always tell you that you're less likely to offend in a community you're connected with. And creating these connections gives them the safety that they need to be able to heal and to move forward. And when our veteran, the 44-year-old Marine vet that said, I found friends, he always teases and says he's in an Army community and he still found friends as a Marine. So I just want you to know the work that you do matters. It does change lives. And the money that you give is not just money. Every time you see that, you're seeing lives that have been affected by the work that you do here in Frankfort. RF was a 39-year-old Army vet, and he said, Veterans Court has taken me from just existing to living, and now in phase 5, which is just before graduation, to flourishing. I could never have regained this life without the support and encouragement of VTC. And Representative Bratcher, you'll get to see him. I would invite all of you to find a Veterans Treatment Court service a graduation ceremony nearby. They're public. If you ask to come to see one of our sessions, I'm confident those judges will welcome you in because we want you to see what's happening. It's not a confidential session like HIPAA and their therapy. It's the court session, but we don't just let people wander in and out because we get down to some really personal things when you deal with struggles and challenges that are being overcome. But our graduation is coming up. We always do a graduation close to Memorial Day and close to Veterans Day. And so one of those pictures you saw was outside the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Elizabethtown. And we go outside, we take court outside, and we bring our vets in front of that memorial wall and bring the community in to see them and let them share their stories and let them know that their community supports them. So law enforcement shows, our representatives from Frankfurt show, Representative Tate comes some. I know we've got her coming up on your agenda in just a minute. These guys and gals need to know that people support them when they come back from their service, whether it was a short stint or whether it was a military career. They deserve the work that we do for them. And we appreciate the opportunity that you give us to do that work. When you give money to the judicial branch, you're giving money to programs like these. And we just need for you to hear that and know that. And our word really to you is just like my vet said, just thank you. Thank you for letting us share, and thank you for giving us a chance to do that kind of work. It matters.
Well, thank you for your very informative presentation. We do have questions. Representative Bratcher.
It's so good to see you here, and I've been to several of the graduations, and you do such great work. But I just wanted to share with everyone that this is not an easy program that these people go through. I mean, some of them are in that program for years, and they do random drug tests. And it's interesting because even the arresting officers sometimes show up, and the police chief shows up to these graduations, and so the whole community is kind of involved and wrapped around this program and helping people become successful and getting back on track. So, but don't get me wrong, Judge Shoemate is an excellent judge. Even though she's caring and compassionate, you do not want to be on her bad side. I'll assure you that. So I've seen that happen before too. So I would like to acknowledge that we have our chief of police here, our county attorney here, and our coroner here from Hardin County today. So it's it looks like it's a Hardin County Day. So, and they're all instrumental in supporting this program as well. So thank you once again. You're changing lives, and we appreciate it in the fast-growing community of Hardin County.
Thank you, and thank you for your support.
Thank you. We also have online Senator Chairman Deneen. Chairman Deneen, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say thank you, Judge Shoemate, for making the trip to Frankfurt today and sharing the program with my colleagues. Again, having the Burden JAG grant and our drug task force present before you was intentional. There are specialty courts, such as the Veterans Court, are eligible for funding through that Burden JAG grant program. So I would encourage my colleagues to understand that when we look at potential funding of the $2 million that was asked, that money goes to a lot of different, can go to a lot of different areas. So I just, again, want to stress the importance of supporting what the Veterans Drug Court program is doing, especially around our 2 military bases. But we have veterans across the Commonwealth, and they all need our help. And I do want to commend the work that you do as volunteering for this program. I just want to encourage everyone to do what we can to assist in this area. It is very, very important, and it is changing lives. I've seen it up close, and I'm glad to attend these Veteran Court graduations. So thank you for keeping us informed and inviting us, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Deneen. Thank you again for, a wonderful presentation. Look forward to working with you. Please keep up the great work, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Okay, up next is a discussion on the in-line of duty hazards disability coverage. Would Representative Tackett please come forth, introduce yourself, and proceed with your presentation.
Afternoon, everyone. I am Ashley Tackett Lafferty, and I represent the 95th District, which includes all of Floyd County and part of Pike County. I want to begin today with a heartfelt thank you to my co-chairs for graciously giving me this opportunity to bring to you today the faces and the stories of those first responders in my district who have been catastrophically injured in the line of duty and then fallen through the cracks of our hazardous duty coverage. Here with me today first is Deputy Darren Lawson. Darren Lawson is a young police officer with a wife and 2 small kids at home. He was attempting to begin his career just a few years ago at our local sheriff's department when he was shot in the line of duty and lost his leg to amputation. Darren, unfortunately, had not spent 5 years with the sheriff's department, so unfortunately he is not going to receive his retirement benefits, and he is also not entitled to hazardous duty benefits. I also have here with me today Emergency Management Director Joe Reynolds. Director Reynolds worked his entire life in fire service and decided to close out his career in emergency management. He was shot in the head and as a result lost his eye and his vision. This was all in the line of duty. Unfortunately, he was not with his department long enough to receive retirement benefits, and he also is not entitled to hazardous duty enhancements. Both of these brave first responders were injured in the same incident, so I've brought my sheriff with me today to kind of give you a very brief story of what happened, and I'm going to let our officers give you just some brief information about their recovery efforts before we begin a conversation on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, thank you, Representative Tackett Lafferty. My name is John Hunt. I'm the sheriff from Floyd County, and I have been there since 2014 as sheriff. Prior to that, I was 20-some years with the KSP, so I feel kind of at home here today. I think you had to be KSP or Hardin County to speak, and I fortunately have both of those. So I lived in Hardin County for a while. So that's the history of where I came from before being sheriff. On this day that brings us here was June the 30th of 2022. A normal day at the sheriff's office up until about 2:30 in the day when deputies responded to a welfare check of a young lady in the little town of Allen, population of probably 200 people. A lady from another state, 300 miles away, had called the sheriff's office to say that this lady in Allen had sent her a text message saying she needed to get away from her husband and that she had left home walking and she needed the police. 2 Floyd County Sheriff's deputies responded, found the lady walking, rolled down the window to talk to her. She just got in the back seat. She said, "Get me out of here. I need to leave." She didn't want to speak there, so they drove her to the sheriff's office where they began interviewing her. From that interview, she made some allegations of domestic violence. From those allegations, they helped her get an emergency protection order, took her to the hospital, local hospital, for do some rape kits. During all that, the deputy who first did the initial response has the emergency protection order in hand, so he's going to the residence to serve the emergency protection order. When the deputies first responded and picked her up, the husband was in the house asleep. She got away from him, and that's when she sent a text message to her friend. The husband wakes up while she is gone, little beknownst to the deputies who are responding. He wakes up and looks for his wife and can't find her. He makes it outside, looks around the house. He runs into a neighbor, wants to know where his wife is. The neighbor says, I didn't see her, but I did see 2 sheriff's cars come, and they left. She might have went with them. He makes a comment to the neighbor and says, well, if they've got her, I better go get ready. They'll be back. So little did the deputies didn't know that at the time, but he had about 45 minutes to prepare for them, and he did. At about 5 o'clock that evening, 4 deputy sheriffs responded to the house to serve the emergency protection order. The first 3 deputies was in line and had already exited their car and had walked up to the porch of the house. When Darren Lawson, the 4th deputy, was in line with them too, but he was the last to get out of his car. Darren, being the last, sees movement through the house window, and he hollers to tell the other deputies that there's a movement in the window, guys, be careful. Seconds later, gunfire just erupts. The first officer's killed. The second and third officer falls one way, one falls the other. Darren is getting out of his vehicle, exits 1 foot on the ground, gun blast goes off, Darren's leg's taken out from under him. It ricochets off the highway, under the door, comes upward in Darren Lawson's legs. Darren's able to lay on the ground and crawl to the back of his car, where he himself applies 2 tourniquets to his leg, saved his life. He sat at the back of the car while gunfire is just going crazy. Darren's able to eventually see 2 more deputies. One of them had just left the porch, been shot at, and they're trying to get Darren's attention to come to him. Darren's able to crawl probably 50 feet to one of the deputies who was able to drag him by his vest to safety. Darren was able to talk on his radio while he was at the back of his car, and he put the call out for help. Other agencies heard that on the radio, and the call went out. More units responded. Of those units, some were police. One of them happened to be emergency management director. The little town that it happened in, it was right off the main drag in the state highway, and a little city street veers off to the right. It's a one-way street. The guy's house he was in was at that dead end of that little road. He could see every car coming and going, even on the main highway. Joey happens to take far away from it, not in the scene. He's going to direct traffic, so no cars drive in that scene. When Joey gets shot 300 yards away, shot in the eye. Hours goes by. At the end of the day, 6 officers were shot. 1 canine dog, total 7. 3 officers and a canine dog was killed. That was a long night. Over 100 officers ended up responding. But at the end of the day, 4 were killed. 2 were crippled for life to be.
Would you like to tell me a little bit about your recovery?
Oh, yes, ma'am. How are you guys? My name is Darren Lawson. So after the accident, they was able to get me to UK, where I spent approximately 35 some days. Maybe I think it's a little bit more than that, but I'm not quite for sure. 4 or 5 months later, doctor, we were just having bad updates with the leg. So we made the mutual decision to go ahead and have it amputated. So I've now been an amputee for going on 3 years. During this time, I've went through approximately anywhere from 8 to 10 prosthetics to just get a comfortable fit. Just from appointments back and forth and everything else that's going on. It's just a pleasure to be here, and thank you all.
Thank you. Recovery?
Thank you all. My name is Joe Reynolds. I was the emergency management director. During the incident, and everything that happened to me, they got me to the hospital at University of Kentucky Hospital, and they had me there for about 3 days. They worked on my eye and back inside. Well, not my eye; it was gone. Back inside to make sure everything, no metal, anything was there, and they done a good job. From there, I came home. I had to come back. They had to reconstruct. They actually made a eyeball, and then they put the human scleras around it, the white part of your eye, and then from there they fitted me for a little prosthetic eye which matched this one. So they had me going back and forth to doctors, and also for the prosthetic. It took probably a year to go through all that, and also I had to. I'm an old time firefighter, and we was taught in our early days that we just tough it out. We don't ask for help. In this day and time, we got to ask for help. I still need it. I believe in it. So, as you can see, it's still here, and this financial thing that you're that it may not even help me, but it was going to help future people, and it's truly. I just thank you all for considering it.
Well, I want to say thank you again for giving us this time here today, and thank you for my first responders who, of course, try to make their recovery sound much easier than it actually was. I think Darren forgot to mention that I believe he's gone through about 17 surgical procedures since this accident. And I think anyone here, it would be hard for anyone here to feel like this was anything other than a hazardous duty situation. Thankfully, in recent years, the General Assembly has enacted legislation to ensure that public safety officers in non-hazardous coverage, such as these two, are provided the same minimum line of duty benefits if the officer either dies in the line of duty or is totally and permanently disabled in the line of duty. But obviously, I hope the testimony here today shows that we have brave first responders who are falling through these cracks. At this time, neither of my officers who testified today have been capable of qualifying for any type of retirement benefit, let alone hazardous duty benefits. So at this time, we have been working with the Public Pension Authority to try to draft a bill which will help to ensure that all of our first responders injured in a hazardous duty situation, catastrophically injured in a hazardous duty situation, will receive minimum benefits, and rightly so. I do believe that there's not many people in this room who wouldn't agree that these fellows deserve every penny. And I came today hoping to answer any questions that you have, take any suggestions in drafting this bill, and offer it to any co-sponsors who would like to sign on.
Thank you, Representative Tackett, and certainly thank you for bringing this forth. I do remember that day and appreciate your service, and God bless you and what you've done. But we do have some comments and questions. I'm going to get to them. Start off with Senator Smith.
Yes, I have just some comments. You may have been following the case of Sheriff Bennett and Deputy Briscoe, who you described their day, and I was sitting here texting with some of the family. It just literally did exactly what you walked into, and having had time to wait, and unlike you, those men lost their life that day. And I was listening to your story, how close you all came to doing the same thing, but we, I guess, don't realize how often you all put your lives on the line to carry out laws and stuff that we put forth. But I wanted to say thank you, and I'm so thankful that you did walk away from that accident. But there are families out there that have had their loved ones that were simply killed for carrying out their oath of office. But I wanted to publicly thank you all, and just it was just uncanny that I'm going through this particular issue right now with the culmination of what happens when somebody murders one of our officers after their appeals has exhausted itself. But it's nice to see that you men have survived and put your lives back together in some manner, because there's a lot of family that's very happy to see you when you walk out of this on your way home, and grandbabies and babies that their lives have been changed if something had gone different that day. But bless each of you, and thank you for your service, and we're going to continue to do the best job we can by you. Thank you all.
Senator, I would like to say that I do believe that Perry County is one of the Sheriff's Department is also one that is non-hazardous. In addition to Floyd County, Pike County, Prestonsburg City Police Department, I think we often see this across the board, especially in rural areas who have trouble sustaining their police department if they invest in the hazardous retirement, which is, I think, nearly, I mean, I may be wrong on this, but I think it's double what typical contributions are. You know, after hearing these stories and being the mother of a criminal justice major who is eager to get out and work in the field of law enforcement, you know, I was really shocked to hear that these fellows are not entitled to benefits with what they do and putting their lives and their bodies on the line every day. And this has not been a fast recovery. You know, this has been nearly this is over 3 years later. In this situation, I do want to add that we do have the support of the Sheriff's Association here. We were unable. We were very appreciative to get this time, but we did originally think we were going on in November, so it was a little short notice. So some of our folks couldn't actually be here today, but we had the police chief of Prestonsburg who is here in support, and he sits on the board as well. But we have letters from, for instance, the Sheriff's Association saying they're in full support of this legislation.
Thank you. We do have a couple more questions too. Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Darren and Joe. Certainly, just words can't describe. I would never know what you're going through, but thank you for being here today. My first thought, and you mentioned it already, that a lot of our counties and cities don't have their officers in hazardous duty. That should be the first thing we change, no doubt. That we should not have folks in harm's way that won't be compensated if this happens to them. And if you're in hazardous duty, then you know the contributions are more, and those funds are paid for. The other thing that as you know from PPOB, our first commandment is thou shalt not pass any legislation with an unfunded liability. So we have some work to do on that part. I'd be glad to talk to you about that. But I guess the bottom line is we shouldn't be having this conversation. Counties should participate and cities should participate if they have hazardous duty workers.
Well, and I am happy to see that the General Assembly has only recently in the past moved in the direction of stepping to step up and say that these fellows who were injured through no fault of their own, actually just by choosing to serve. And at this point, I feel like until we can get it in line that all officers are considered hazardous duty, a bill such as this will protect anyone who is participating and catastrophically injured in the line of duty in a hazardous duty environment. Thank you.
Thank you. We got 3 more questions. We're going to try to get through them. So we got another presentation. Representative Fugit, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, Sheriff, good to see you. Appreciate your service. Deputy and Director, thank you all for your service. You know what they went through is, you know, I never had to go through that as a trooper. And what a lot of people don't realize is you're not a TV show. So the physical disabilities that you've incurred because of your service, you'll overcome them, but it's not something you can just turn off. When you had to live that day in that moment and seeing people that you love and that stood by your side killed in line of duty, it is. I understand that local governments and city governments have a hard time in rural areas paying that difference of hazardous duty, and I agree with Senator Higdon. There has to be some work that we can do as a legislator, but until that we can do something that would counteract the cost or whatever, fellows like you all, officers like you all that go out there to protect and serve, and sometimes you're by yourself on calls like that. A lot of times you're on calls like that by yourself, and when something happens that would involve you being injured permanently, and I obviously I'm 100% for it, Sheriff, and whatever I can do, I'll do that to be a voice for you. I appreciate your sacrifice, and your families have to go through that same thing too. So thank you for your service, and hopefully we can do something to help you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have
And I do.
Dodson.
Oh, sure. Mr. Chair, just briefly, I'd like to say that, if you think about it, there's probably going to be a limited number of people who would collect under a statute such as this. So in the meantime, like you said, of trying to fix the underlying problem, really, like I said, it's worth every penny. So.
Thank you, Mr. I'll give you a chance to respond to all these, but I'm going to try to get to these questions if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I could feel the emotion and the passion, and this hits close home to me because my sister-in-law lived in that neighborhood, and me and my wife was on the phone with her during the time the standoff was taking place. So I was just feeling a lot of that emotion again, and you guys are truly heroes, and thank you for that. And I just want you to know that that I'll do whatever I can, Representative Tackett, to be there with you and to help. This just makes no sense to me. This hearing this, it feels like, how's this even possible? That these men cannot be compensated for what they've had to endure. So anyhow, with that being said, whatever we need to do to fix and ratify the problem, you got my support on it. And thank you all for your bravery and your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question or comment is Representative Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me say that I too feel that there certainly should be some compensation out there, and as Representative Tackett Lafferty said, there probably won't be a lot of folks, but so that's what we need to do is find some way to compensate people such as you who, without maybe mandating on an entire system, whether it be a county or a city or whatever, that they have to pay and put everyone in the system so that the funds are there. And so I think that's the problem. I've been here over 30 years, and it was one of the first issues I had my sheriff came to me and said, hey, we need to be in hazardous duty retirement. And I understood that, but that happened, and it didn't happen then, and it didn't happen later. And then the next thing I got was, your dispatch folks, say, well, we need to be in hazardous duty retirement. And then I even got calls from some of the women that worked at the county attorney's office that run the child support. And they're like, you can't believe how mad some of these guys come in when we are forcing them to pay child support. So we need to be under hazardous duty retirement. And so at that time it was like, well, there's no stopping this. And, we knew we really couldn't do it, and it will continue. Everyone else is going to want to be under hazardous duty. And I can tell you that I've been a mayor, and one of the cities close to me, they became hazardous duty on the retirement. And we're not just talking about benefits for being injured. We're talking about 20 years and you have 100% pension. We're talking about insurance for you and your whole family being 100% covered after you retire. There are lots of ramifications other than providing benefits for people who definitely deserve them. There's no one here questions that. So I just want to make sure that we totally understand what we're doing if we try to start mandating all of our cities and counties join the hazardous duty retirement, because it pretty much bankrupted the little city where I'm that was next to me when I was mayor that did this, and now they only have their chief of police. They have a chief of police, and that's all, and he's hazardous duty, and they can't get out of it. So we just have to make sure that we look at all these issues when we're debating this. So thank you.
Thank you. Just want to finally say, thank you again. I live not too far from there, actually, and but again, I remember that day well, and it was so tragic. But just want to say thank you for your service for us. Now we got to find some way to serve you. So thank you so much for your time, and appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have further conversation.
Mr. Chair, could I just respond one thing to Rep. Gooch's inquiry? They did provide that this bill actually would only provide minimum benefits in situations such as these, which would be 25% of pay to the disabled officer and 10% for each child, as well as minimum health benefits. So as I was speaking to Brad in the hallway, Deputy Lawson would receive health insurance benefits, and he would be provided for the opportunity to purchase it for his children. But it is not a full benefit through this bill that is provided. It is actually a minimum benefit similar to the previous one.
The current bill that is being proposed.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
and
very
thank you
much.
for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you
very
for
much, and God
thank
bless
you very much.
Our final presenter is Representative Nancy Tate with Charlie Corbett and Lieutenant Colonel Brian Myers. If you come forth, please, and introduce yourself. And hate to do this to you, but we have a whole 6 minutes. So be brief. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also members of the committee. As Chairman McCool stated, I am Representative Nancy Tate, and I will represent District 27, Meade and Hardin counties, and I'll let my guests introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Brian Muir. I'm with the Louisville Fire Department. I'm an assistant chief there and the fire marshal.
I'm Charlie Corbett, builder and land developer on Rough River Lake, Kentucky.
Matthew Marshall, fire marshal for the city of Frankfort Fire and EMS.
And just at the sake of time, I'm going to let them present since we have 5 more minutes.
You first.
You want to go first? Okay.
Sure, yes. So we're here to talk about this smoke alarm bill, carbon monoxide bill. In Kentucky, there is no requirement that existing residences have a working smoke alarm in them. A number of cities have gone to that, and part of the bill deals with when you have a transfer of property, the realtor has another form in the closing packet that says, we swear that there's a working smoke alarm in there. And the reason for this is that, home fires are only about 25% of all fires, but they're 70% of all fire deaths. And so it is the one easiest thing that we can do to provide minimum life safety standards for all of the residents in Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've some of your faces look familiar. We were here 2 years ago. We actually got through the House with the smoke detector bill, and we've made it bigger and better. So we're working with Representative Tate. We've got CO detectors on here. Deaths have continued to grow. We had 99 fire fatalities that we know that have been reported. Unfortunately, not all fire deaths in the state of Kentucky get reported. We're working on that as well. We would like all those reported. So that's in the bill as well. But now there was also 16 that we know that were carbon monoxide deaths as well. So with this, this is a home run because it doesn't cost anything. I know some of you have heard me say that as well. Red Cross and fire departments can install smoke detectors throughout the state for free, not cost anything. I install smoke detectors monthly. I set up appointments. We can install them for free. We can put them in, and we can help these people out, not cost anything. We can also work on these carbon monoxide detectors. We can put those in. We can do combinations. We can do both, and we can save lives. We can make a difference. So we're hoping to work on this and get through there. So we really appreciate your all's help and allowing us to speak today.
So I'm Charlie Corbett, a builder down at Rough River Lake, and the home, your individual home should be the safest place for anyone. And one of the things that comes to mind here is in the state of Kentucky, there's a little over 2 million housing units, like almost 2.1 million housing units. Out of those 2.1 million housing units, about 900,000 of them, almost a million, close to 50%, have natural gas or propane fired appliances and heating units. So here's the thing. Leaks go undetected. Sometimes you can sense the odorant, sometimes you can't. There's an odorant in natural gas and propane, so you could smell it. Sometimes you can smell it, sometimes you can't. The last thing we want to have is homes that are exploding in the middle of the night. And I always think in terms of prevention, detection, and correction. If I properly install and maintain a natural gas or propane appliance and service lines in my home, that's prevention. Detection is if I have a leak, I need to be aware of that. And just an odorant or a minor leak ain't enough. So in the last few years, First Alert and several other manufacturers have come out with explosive gas detectors. And this one is a combined unit with carbon monoxide. So in the event that prevention is not enough and I actually have a leak, detection is the next best route. You'll even see billboards on the highways now where gas service providers and utility companies are saying, do you hear a wisp? Get out. That's what they're telling you to do, get out of your house. This will help detect a leak and prevent that explosion from happening. The last thing we want to have is more homes that explode in the middle of the night, killing people who were unaware that they had a gas leak problem. This will solve that problem. So the first step is prevention, second step is the detection, and last step is correction, where we have the fire department on site transporting people to hospitals and cleaning up the debris. So this is the best method in my mind to detect and prevent these kinds of fatalities happening in the state of Kentucky. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. So if we would welcome any questions.
Senator Boswell.
Thank you. So let me make just a clarification. You're wanting a mandatory, is that right? Like we have other things too, like for example, do we going to require fire extinguishers? Do we require burglar alarms? Do we require radon testing kits? I understand the concern, and I think everybody ought to have one, but we're talking about the word mandatory here?
We're talking about smoke alarms. The carbon monoxide alarms will be a public education campaign to let people know that they are available, and a number of fire departments also will buy them and distribute them, but they're a little more expensive. And we're working with the Fire Commission to help solve that. So that is not.
Sorry, Dave, I know we're a short time. Just one, if I can. So is there a penalty then? Would there be a penalty under this proposed legislation where somebody maybe sells a house or whatever, doesn't have a smoke alarm in it, that they would be fined or something? How would you regulate this?
The same way that it's done in the cities where it already exists. We rely on the real estate agent at the transfer of property to ensure, because that's not, we're hoping that fire departments can go knock on, how many residential units do we have in Kentucky? To get out and confirm that there are operational smoke alarms and install one. But we're not in those closing rooms. We're not in a lot of those transfers. And so it is a way to further that.
It could be added to the home inspection guidelines, if necessary, for when a home is being sold or transferred and they hire a home inspector to do an inspection, that person could have it on their checklist to verify that there's a working detector. So as far as penalties go, that would be the last method of prevention. But the first two steps and what these guys are doing is public awareness. A lot of people don't even know these things exist. So with their public awareness campaign, they get education and get awareness, and they can do something about it. Later down the road, once several years down the road, you could make it mandatory. It's required in the Kentucky Building Code that all new homes and remodeled structures have fire detection and carbon monoxide detectors. It's in the building code for new homes and remodeled homes, but it's not there yet for homes that were built years ago that didn't have them in it, and the people are just unaware of it. So education and awareness first, get the detectors in, prevent and detect the conditions that lead to fatalities and what should be the safest place you're in.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm sure we'll have many more conversations, and we know it's very important and it does save lives, and it will show that. So again, thank you so much for your
Thank
your
you.
time. Okay, we want to remind the members that our next meeting of the committee will be November the 12th. No further business before us today. We